Good morning. I'm Ed McNeal, Marketing and Communications Director for the City of Winston-Salem, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to REVO Church as we gather to celebrate the graduation of Winston-Salem Fire Department's Class 24. Please rise as the recruits from Class 24 enter the room and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem, the honor guard. The national anthem will be performed by Winston-Salem firefighter Tim Sloan. The drill commander will give the order to present arms, at which time we'd like for you to place your right hand over your heart and please remain in that position until the command of order arms is given. Thank you. Please be seated. Pastor Nathan Klein, the pastor of REVO Church, also one of the fire department's chaplains, will bring our invocation this morning. Pastor Klein.
Let's pray together. God, thank you for this opportunity to gather this morning to celebrate the accomplishments of these men and women. God, thank you for the path that you have brought them down to arrive here today. God, for the parents, for the spouses, the family and friends that have supported them and encouraged them along the way. God, as they face this important calling, give them perseverance, grant them protection, give them a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, knowing that what they do every day is making a difference and having an impact on people around them. And I ask that today would be much more than just a culmination of months of hard work, but that today would mark the beginning of a lifelong calling of selfless service to others. Pray these things in your Son's name.
Thank you, Pastor. Our city is headed by a council of 8 members and led by a mayor. Mayor Alan Joines began working for the city in 1971 and retired as the deputy city manager in 2000. He was elected mayor in 2001 and is now serving in his 5th term. Combined, he has worked 46 years for the citizens of Winston-Salem. Please welcome Mayor Alan Joines.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. What a pleasure it is to be here as we welcome new members of our public safety community to the family of Winston-Salem, to our Mayor Pro Tem, to Councilmember Taylor, the chairman of our public safety committee, to Councilman Dan Besse and Councilman John Larson, who are here, to our fire chief, of course, and to our guest speaker, Fire Chief Jenkins. Good morning, everyone. You know, the provision of public safety to our citizens is the highest calling for a city government. That's the reason we come together as a city, to provide those level of services to protect our citizens. And so as mayor, it's my honor and my pleasure to thank each one of you for your willingness to step up, put your lives at risk to protect and serve the citizens of Winston-Salem. The fire service is one of the most noble professions that there is, going all the way back to the Roman times, where they had their own fire departments there, and probably still using some of that same type of equipment that they were using then. But today we've got a very modern department, very well-trained department. Just cut the ribbon on a new training facility over at Beatty Training Center just last week. And so we're working to provide you with the tools that you need, the training that you need, and the support that you need to do the kind of job that we expect for you to do for our citizens. So on behalf of our 242,000 citizens of Winston-Salem, thank you, and welcome to the family of the city of Winston-Salem. Good morning.
Thank you, Mayor Joines. The longest-serving elected official in the city's history spent 36 years as the chairman of the Public Safety Committee. She is now serving in her 11th term on the City Council. Please welcome Mayor Pro Tem and Council Member of the Northeast Ward, Mrs. Vivian H. Burke.
Good morning. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to stand here and look at you and greet you, to our mayor and our chairman of our Public Safety Committee, and I'm sure the mayor's already introduced our council people, and I'm sure our city manager will introduce his staff. So I will do what I've been asked to do, is to bring a few remarks. As I stand here and I look at you, the families of the ones that we're recognizing this morning, I want each of you who's going to step into the responsibility of being a first responder to let you know how much we appreciate you and how hard we know your job will be. I said to the city manager on more than one occasion. I cry because our first responders are having so much to do, and so many times unnecessary things to do because people don't do what they're supposed to do. If we learn young, and when I heard the voice of children, I'm always pleased and happy to hear the future leaders. If we would respond to what we need to respond to as people and not create some problems for our first responders, then we would move smoother in this world, in this city, in this county. But many times we call on our first responders when they could be doing something else. But you come because you know we need you. I always like to be polite. I failed to say to the speaker, you introduce yourself to me. Thank you for being out in our city. And I want to say to each and every one of you, America, America, your country, my country. Don't step back, but step forward. May God continue to be with each and every one of you as you carry out your duties and your responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The City Council's Public Safety Committee is made up of 4 members. The committee provides resources for fire, police, and emergency management. They are led by the council member of the Southeast Ward, who is a 2003 graduate of the Criminal Justice Program at the University of North Carolina Central. Please welcome the Chairman of Public Safety, James Taylor, Jr.
Good morning. I have the honor and privilege of bringing greetings on behalf of the Public Safety Committee for the City of Winston-Salem, to the Mayor Pro Tem, to the Council, to the Chief, the Assistant Chiefs, all the members of the DS. I greet you. I just want to stop by and offer my congratulations to Recruit Class 24. I want to thank you for your commitment, for your dedication as a native son of this city to the City of Winston-Salem. What you do as a firefighter, what you will be doing, I believe, is a very, very noble profession, as the Mayor has said. In fact, I believe it is a very, very, very special profession. If you have a community concern, you can pick up the phone and you can call me. If you have a dispute that you need to break up, hey, you can pick up the phone, you can give me a call. But I got to tell you, if you come to a house and it's engulfed in flames, 20 feet, 10 feet, don't call me, all right? I want to congratulate these brave men and the men and women of the fire department for stepping up and saying, call me in the form of any emergency. To the family, thank you for sharing them with us. I know firsthand that, it's hard to do anything without family behind you. So I want to say thank you. On behalf of the council and on behalf of the Public Safety Committee, Recruit Class 24, again, thank you for what you do to help our city to be a better place to live, work, and relax. And in my humble opinion, I've said this before, growing up, I looked at Batman and Superman, and I thought, and Wonder Woman, those were the definition of superheroes. But as I grew and got a little older and a little wiser, our first responders, particularly our fire department, you are the true heroes of our community. And we thank you for what you do, again, to help our city to be a better place to live, work, and relax. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Taylor. In the council manager form of government, the city manager oversees the day-to-day operation and the delivery of services. In his 11 years as the city manager, Lee Garrity has championed improved customer service, accountability, and the spirit of all working together as one team. Please welcome our city manager, Mr. Lee Garrity.
Good morning. First, I want to introduce my staff real quickly. They're the people who really do the work, and they're here to support all of you. I see Assistant City Manager Page, Assistant City Manager Rao, HR Director Carmen Caruth. Please stand up real quick so we can just acknowledge you. Thank you. Thank you. You are joining our family today, and we need you. We really do. We're excited to have you. I can tell you, even the budget office needs you because of the amount of overtime we've had to spend because we've been short firefighters. A couple things quickly. The mayor alluded to and mentioned the Besse Center. I do want to thank the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, Chairman Taylor, and the rest of the city council. In the last few years, they have dedicated more resources with the support of the citizens to public safety than I've ever seen in my entire career. We are about to we just opened the Besse Center, state-of-the-art training. We're about to open 3 renovated, 1 completely rebuilt fire stations. That's the most significant investment I've seen in my career, and I believe there's more to come. As they often will tell me, you can't put a price behind public safety. That's how important it is to all of our elected leaders. Secondly, to all your families, we talk about it a lot, but it's true. In law enforcement and in the fire service, when your spouse, your child joins this profession, they're entering into almost a second family, a second marriage. In the fire service, they're going to be gone from you for 24 hours at a pop, sometimes longer. They're going to be called back in emergencies. It's going to impact family events, other things where they have to put this family of 230,000 citizens first, and you will have to suffer from that. And I am very, very grateful that you're willing to allow your loved ones to join this family and to risk their lives for all of us. Many of you know that every time there is a structure fire in Winston-Salem or a major rescue, a traffic accident, a major extraction, Communications Center makes a quick call to myself and all the elected officials. And as the chief will remind me, usually those structure fires are every 40 hours or so. But for all of us, all we have to do is get a little bit of information about where it is. And then, honestly, most of the time it's at night and I can go back to sleep because I know that all of you are the ones running into that burning building, helping that person be extracted from that vehicle on Business 40 at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's pouring rain and it's 25 degrees. Those are the things that make a huge difference, and we take it for granted, but we shouldn't, because what you do is so vital to all of us. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your willingness to step up and do this. This calling is much more than a job. It's a calling, and I'm very grateful that you're willing to be here. So thank you.
In a moment, you're going to hear "Welcome to the Southwest Ward," and the person who is going to bring that message to you is the council member from the Southwest Ward, Councilmember Dan Besse.
Thank you, Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of the city and the department, my colleague Ed knows me too well. We can't have an event like this that we're so proud to host anywhere in our city of Winston-Salem in one of the specific districts that one of our 8 council members represents without the person who represents that district, and in this case, welcome to the Southwest Ward of Winston-Salem, being delighted to deliver a special welcome on behalf of the 30,000 citizens I directly represent on the city council, in addition, of course, to all the 240,000 plus citizens of Winston-Salem. And that brings to mind just one message I want to reinforce, and that is that we understand that when you go out to take this job as a firefighter, that you are the ones who will be protecting the lives and safety of the 30,000 people I am directly responsible for representing and the 240,000 plus and growing citizens of this entire community. As my colleague, Public Safety Chair Taylor said, they can call us about a pothole, they can call us about a enforcement of a high grass problem, they can call us because they want this or that program, but they can't call us when their home is on fire. They can't call us when they're having a heart attack, and you with your EMT training are almost always the first ones there for those coronary calls. They're the ones you depend on. We all depend on you, and we all very much appreciate you. Congratulations to the Class 24 for making it successfully through a very tough training program. Thank you for what you will be doing, and thank you to all the colleagues in the department already, the men and women of the Winston-Salem Fire Department who are out to protect all our families every day. We appreciate it.
As a part of the 2016 election, we saw a new member join the Winston-Salem City Council, and this is his first fire graduation. Please welcome council member from the South Ward, John Larson.
Well, I can only add to all the accolades that have already been said, one sort of anecdotal story. And it must have been a very cold January morning, 31st of 1784, when the alarm went off at 3 o'clock in the morning and awoke all the citizens of Salem. And for the first time, that town faced a major fire with the burning of the tavern. And what happened was they aligned in 2 rows to create a bucket brigade using wooden and leather buckets to haul 2 gallons of water, as it were, passing down one line with all the men on one side to feed the fire, to feed water onto the fire. And on the back side, with the empty buckets, the women and the children lined up to take those buckets back and refill them. And that combination of work, and unfortunately the building was lost, but because of that work, they were able to save the barns and the outbuildings. Fortunately, there was no wind, and more fortunately, they were able to extract the tenants of the tavern, or the occupants of the tavern, with no loss of life, and they were very grateful for that. As a result of that, however, the following year, the first time, Salem purchased 2 fire engines. One was operated by 2 men, and one was operated by 4 men in order to pump water up onto the roofs, no longer relying on the ladders and the hooks and the other things that had been used. This provided modern equipment. And it's that legacy today that you, the class of 24, are inheriting. It is that legacy of service that you are inheriting. And it's those strong hands of both the men and the women of the fire department that are out operating this equipment, whether it be leather buckets or whether it be the modern fire equipment that we see out in front of you today, and the men and the women and the children who are on the backside supporting you on a daily basis, that I think needs to be remembered, and we're so proud of that. We're so proud of the legacy of service that you provide. We're so proud of your accomplishments and the contribution that you will make to the city and the safety of the citizens, which is so important. And I would like to applaud and thank the people that have come before you that have been in service from that time forward, from 1784, protecting this city, protecting our homes during that time. Thank you for your service, and congratulations.
Thank you, council member. W.L. Mayo began his service to the citizens of Winston-Salem 3 years ago. In the monthly public safety news conference, he often reminds media to share with the public that house fires can be prevented and that protecting lives and property is really a partnership. It's a partnership between residents, businesses, and the fire department. He is a 28-year veteran of the fire services. Please welcome Winston-Salem Fire Chief W.L. Mayo to introduce our keynote speaker.
Well, I'll just speak loud. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Jones, Madam Mayor Pro Tem Burke, Chairman Taylor, Councilors Besse and Larson, Mr. Manager. Thank you for being with us. What a great turnout for what is the largest recruit class in the City of Winston-Salem Fire Department's history. I want to thank Chaplain Nathan Klein and his congregants for hosting us this morning. The REVO Church has had a relationship with the Winston-Salem Fire Department for I don't know how long as I've been the fire chief. They've adopted some of our fire stations, and I think it's once a month, is that right? They come out and serve a meal to one or two of the fire stations, and I've happened upon them once or twice, and it's good too. In addition to Chaplain Klein, we have Chaplain Millard Shepard is here with us this morning. Thank you for being here. There are some chief officers in the audience I'd like to recognize. Retired Chief Herb Sherman is here from Shelter Island, New York. Chief Mark Reed is here from Wahlberg. Chief Wes Key is here from Ararat. And Chief Darren Needham is here from Louisville. And then Winston-Salem Police Chief Katrina Thompson. I can't see her, but I know she's here as I saw her before the ceremony started. I once heard a fire chief say that he never saw a mic he didn't like, so I'm going to make a few remarks this morning before I introduce our speaker. Now, I'm a simple man. I'm an operations guy, so, well, my comments tend to shade toward the pragmatic. We import speakers like Chief Jenkins to do the inspirational talking for us. But, yeah, I want to give you a little advice that I think will help you have a successful and enjoyable career. And I do this intentionally. You know, I could have done this during recruit school at some point, but I do it intentionally in this setting in front of your families because I think they need to hear this stuff too. The first thing is go to work every morning with a good attitude. You know, when you and a coworker can't see eye to eye, or you've gotten up for the 5th time after midnight to go out on a call, you know, if you're riding the most ragged reserve pumper we have in the fleet, you know, you don't like some decision I made, and I promise you, you're not going to like all the decisions I make. I don't like all the decisions I make, so just, you know, get ready for that. But if you come to work and you have that good attitude every day, even though things are not perfect in your work life, you can still deliver the excellent customer service that our customers have come to expect from the fire department. Don't form opinions based on lack of full information. The fire department is easily the biggest rumor mill on earth. And we hear the most outlandish things you have ever, I mean, just things you cannot imagine. I was talking to Mr. McNeal earlier this week. Matter of fact, we were on the phone, we were talking about the program for this morning. And we got to the end, he said, "Let me ask you a personal question." I said, "Fire away." He said, you sorry you didn't get the call?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "That you didn't get the job." I said, "What job are you talking about?" He said, "I heard you were finalists for the superintendent at the National Fire Academy." I said, "Are you kidding me? You think I want to be a federal employee? I don't feel like I get anything done now." Be engaged with the fire department beyond only letting us see you when you're scheduled to be at work. We have Christmas parties, award ceremonies, apparatus spec committees, turnout gear spec committees. There are multiple opportunities over the course of a year for you to show up and be engaged with this organization outside of regular work hours. And you need to do some of those things. You'd be surprised at the number of things you learn that are outside the black and white of what some policy says just by showing up and perking your ears and listening to what's being said by folks with more seniority and tenure than you have. I don't care if you want to retire as a plain old firefighter. That's wonderful. If that's what you want to do, it tickles me to death. But I promise you, your career will be more successful and more satisfying if you're engaged with the organization beyond just showing up when you have to work. Don't give back the physical fitness gains that you have accomplished in the past 7 months. They've just done a study at the Boston Fire Department and showed that the typical evening meal at one of their fire stations is over 3,000 calories. Don't do that. Stay physically fit, stay physically active, and stay away from the second helpings. Now, I know most of you already have a part-time job lined up. Do your head like this right here. That's right. Remember, the fire department is your primary job. The fire department provides your income security. This is where you get your benefits. This job is where the promotional opportunities are. What you do for the next 30 years in this job dictates what's going to happen in your life, your retirement income from the day you retire until the day you die. And we are seeing increasingly often where retirees are living longer in retirement than they spent in their 30-year working life. So remember what your primary job is. Stay sharp on general knowledge. Now, it's quite possible that some of you could take a path where in 2 or 3 years you find yourself able to quote every detail of what's required to happen to effect a confined space rescue, but you can't do effective CPR or deploy a pre-connected hose line properly. Don't allow this to happen. Always stay sharp on the basics, because the basics are what you're going to fall back on, well, when it hits the fan. Never stop learning about fire behavior and building construction, and never forget, and I know Chief Stowe was talking about something related to this yesterday, never forget how an empty salt shaker kills firefighters. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning, and I can't thank him enough for spending this morning with us. He's going to travel about 200 days during his year as the IAFC president. He's a charismatic leader, he's a planner, he's a thinker. Educated at Oklahoma State, the University of Oklahoma, National Fire Academy. He's the first credentialed chief fire officer in the state of Arkansas. A fire chief who has embraced and advocates for community outreach, social media interaction, and strategic political advocacy. One who understands that the fire service's future will be heavily reliant on research, data, technology, and evidence-based decision-making. He's been quoted to say, "Our business is to solve problems that vary greatly in scope and complexity, and do so quickly and efficiently." The Rogers, Arkansas Fire Department is a model for a progressive fire service. It's a 7-station department, 133 personnel. They're nimble, they're quick on their feet. It doesn't matter what you're talking about related to the fire service. You know, community risk reduction, fireground operations, delivery of medical services, all the other services that the fire service provides, the Rogers Fire Department is on the cutting edge. And I'll give you just one example. Using public education and technology like Pulse Point, over a 3-year period, they increased their cardiac arrest save rate from 7% to 42%. They get it. A quarter of the resident population in Rogers, Arkansas has been trained to do bystander CPR, trained by the Rogers Fire Department. They get it. You ready? Please welcome Fire Chief from Rogers, Arkansas, President and Chairman of the Board of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, my friend, Tom Jenkins.
Well, Chief Mayo, members of the Winston-Salem Fire Department, the distinguished guests and elected officials, and of course the family and friends of these firefighters, good morning, and thank you for having me here. Today's a wonderful day for the Winston-Salem Fire Department. It's always a joyous occasion when we're able to celebrate the dedication of public servants and recognize the newly minted firefighters here in this city. It's also fun to reflect on the baptism that you now have into the world of firefighting and emergency response. So first off, congratulations. You hopefully realize by now that you're joining the best job in the world. I'm honored to speak to you and your family and friends, and of course, my fellow firefighters. I'm also proud to be at Chief Mayo's department. Chief Mayo is a rock star in our industry, and he's somebody that I'm proud to call a friend. When I talked to him about coming here many, many months ago now, I was excited. I have the fortune to speak to a lot of audiences and a lot of different venues these days, but by far my favorite group to talk to is guys and gals like you, newly minted firefighters. Now, certainly my message today involves some words of wisdom and some observations about this wonderful career that you've chosen. But my real purpose today is to try to frame the beginning of your career in the right way by talking about one of my best friends on the job. You see, when I think about what it means to be a public servant, and more specifically, a damn good firefighter, one of my best friends comes to mind. My friend, my brother, Jeremy, is pretty unassuming. I came to know him about a decade and a half ago when I was on the job at another department around Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, Jeremy and I were not immediate friends. We worked opposite shifts for many years, but fate eventually put us together working alongside one another at a busy blue-collar fire station. Now, it took a couple of years of running calls together before our personalities finally clicked. Now, we didn't work together forever or really even that long. He eventually left and promoted from firefighter to driver-operator and driver-operator to company officer. Now, during that time frame, Jeremy began to accumulate some pretty impressive merit badges, if you will, on the department. Lots of fire, plenty of significant motor vehicle accidents, some real deal hazmat emergencies, and even a heroic rescue here and there. And unfortunately, he also saw a lot of death. Actually, more death than most firefighters would normally see throughout their entire career, regardless of the size of city you might work for. One particular call of Jeremy's always sticks out in my mind. The math on it was pretty simple. 3 vehicles, 2 of them engulfed in flames, 6 fatalities, including 4 teenagers on their way home from spending a day out at the lake over Labor Day, traveling through West Tulsa. Jeremy was on the first arriving engine company that night, and he found himself on a divided, multi-lane highway with bystanders yelling, grabbing him, pulling him, begging him, as he was trying to make some very, very critical decisions. Decisions like, who gets to live? That particular car wreck made him play God, and that's a job that he did not sign up for. Just 2 of the 8 people involved in that wreck would walk away. And in my career, and no doubt in his, it remains one of the craziest incidents that I've ever been a part of. Now, Jeremy did not mourn that incident. He didn't beg to be a victim. As a matter of fact, he would say things like, if you don't like death, you shouldn't be a firefighter. A few years later, I left that department where we worked together for my current job in Rogers. Now, we kept in touch over the phone. We were friends. But it seemed like Jeremy could not catch a break. A big fire here, a few more bad calls there, and pretty soon, my best friend, my brother firefighter, eroded into somebody that I didn't even recognize anymore. After some time, it became apparent that Jeremy had a legitimate and growing problem. He didn't sleep well. He drank too much. He worried incessantly about the safety of his 3 daughters. His normal happy-go-lucky personality was replaced by a colder, harder, and insecure shell. My buddy that I admired, that I worked with, that I loved, that I thought was tough as nails, was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, Jeremy's going to be okay. He was officially diagnosed, and he's on his way, with the help of some therapy, to return to his normal personality. Now, the epiphany I had about Jeremy, and the reason I chose to share that story with you today, was when he had his first appointment with a psychiatrist scheduled. Knowing him like I do, I was very fearful that that psychiatrist, that doctor, might tell him that he needs to retire. And I asked him, Jeremy, what are you going to do if they make you retire off the job? It didn't take him long to muster a response. He quickly responded and told me, I'll tell them to kiss my ass. This job is what keeps me sane. And the words make sense. The career that he loved had cost him his mental health. It ended his marriage. It impacted his physical health and even caused him to battle the clarity of his own thoughts. But the job was such a part of his life that he couldn't picture happiness without it. Now, unfortunately, nearly all firefighters will relate to some component of that story. And unfortunately, eventually you will too. Your career, as has been mentioned this morning, is a calling, whether you realize it or not. The privilege to take care of strangers and make the world safer is a task that is honed and accepted by few. When my parents, who were both educators in the public school system, retired after over 30 years working and going and teaching the youth of America, neither one of them even cared enough to go to their retirement party. More important, since they retired, they don't miss going to work. And if you don't believe me, if you ever visit Oklahoma, you can probably find them at a couple of Native American casinos gambling my inheritance away, I imagine. My parents' careers, which were important to the youth of Oklahoma, they were just that. They were just jobs. Jeremy's career, however, was part of his DNA for the good and the bad. You've chosen a profession that provides safety, saves lives, limits property damage, and even protects the environment. The tasks that you will undertake are noble, and they're not for the faint of heart. You should not be here for the money. You should be here for the work and the future and to make a difference. For the Winston-Salem Fire Department officers and leaders here in the group that have been working over the last few weeks to shape the minds and talent of the future, I remind you that your obligation is to stretch your experience and your education to these firefighters in a way that has a positive impact on the Winston-Salem of tomorrow. These young firefighters will change your department, risk their lives, and make you better. And I hope all of you incumbent firefighters are up to the challenge of influencing them. As you celebrate your collective accomplishments today, I want to briefly share with you a few things that I wish somebody would have told me when I first got on the job. Number one is to embrace change. Firefighters are often characterized as hating the way things are, but hating anything that ever is done to make it better. Too many people sit stagnant, and the world that you protect is not made safer by those who look for reasons to defend the status quo. The long history of the fire service was not written by firefighters who were timid. It's not written by those who embrace mediocrity, and it's not written by those who follow the road well traveled. The world's not made safer by those who hide from a challenge for fear they'll make a mistake. Learn from others, learn from your colleagues, and allow their mistakes and their successes to shape you as a leader and a decision maker and a student of life. Talk about ideas whether others listen or not. You're going to battle inertia and laziness in your career, but remember that it's imperative that as leaders in public safety, you keep the needle moving forward. Number two, you need to be restless. If you ask those firefighters that really lead organizations, and understand that leaders don't always have a bunch of bugles on their collar, how they get stuff done, they're going to tell you a lot of things, but the bottom line is good leaders are restless, and they care about the job. You need to find those things that need to be fixed and fight endlessly to achieve a success story. Refuse to be satisfied with poor results or failure or the easy answer or the comfortable assignment. Firefighters, as you may have figured out, are a family of rabble-rousers, and we don't sit quietly when problems are left unsolved. Regardless of what assignment specifically you get, be restless in your encounters, push yourself, and then push those around you. It's amazing what we can do as a fire service to help the public and the public safety when we engage ourselves to think and work harder than we thought we could. Accept the fact that disappointment will happen from time to time. be restless, and do good. Last, prioritize. Some of you, hopefully all of you, like myself, may wish for a dream job and just be lucky enough to get it. But be careful. This profession is not like normal careers. Accountants don't get tattoos of the tax code on themselves, and bankers don't drive around with vehicles that show their local bank branch's logo. Good firefighters, however, are generally consumed with the love of the job. Don't forget to prioritize the things that really matter: your family, your spiritual beliefs, and certainly your children. Don't confuse the love of the job, career, profession, or whatever you want to call it with the items that really matter in your life. Strike a balance and know that the greatness of life is actually derived from everything that's not on your resume. You've accepted the call for public service, the mission to engage what is broken and fix it, and to find the hurt and to tend to them. Now, certainly Chief Mayo and the Winston-Salem Fire Department leadership could have skipped this little ceremony, mailed you a certificate, and complimented you when they saw you in the hallways on your various achievements. But today's bigger than you realize. Being a firefighter means belonging to an elite club of misfits. Own traditions like this, celebrate the good work you do, and remember, embrace change, be restless, get your priorities right, and by any means necessary in your career, be a real firefighter. Congratulations, welcome to the club, and more importantly, thanks for letting me spend some time with you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief Jenkins. Each of these graduates seated before you today successfully completed more than 1,200 hours of training and testing to wear the badge. Today, they're prepared to take on the task of saving lives and property every day as they serve the citizens of Winston-Salem. Safety and Training Captain David Cruz will join us now to provide an overview of what it takes to become a Winston-Salem firefighter.
Okay, first of all, good morning. My name is Captain David S. Cruz, the Fire Recruit Coordinator for Class 24. First of all, I'd like to begin off by recognizing Mayor Joins, Mayor Tempore, Mrs. Vivian Burke, the other council members, the city manager, Fire Chief Jenkins, Fire Chief Mayo, and the entire fire administrative staff for granting me this opportunity. More than anything, though, I would like to thank God, not just for giving me the fortitude to take on this challenge, but for giving my wife and my family the patience to put up with me for the past 15 months. That was a large task. In my 25-year career, though, I've been faced with a few milestones. As a newly promoted engineer, my first structure fire was the R.J. Reynolds Building 256 fire, which is one of the largest fires in the city of Winston-Salem. And now, I've been faced with a new milestone of being a part of the largest recruit class in the city of Winston-Salem. I've been with these 39 young men and women, not just from the beginning of the recruit process, but from the beginning of the interview process. I walked each and every one of them down a long hallway, and I interviewed each and every one of these young men and women. And it's been a pleasure to be able to watch them grow. You know, sometimes some people make the mistake of thinking that if they can't do anything else, I can always be a firefighter. That would be a mistake. The journey for these young men and women began February the 27th of this year, and it began with 152 hours of classroom, human resource, study skills, bloodborne pathogen lectures, and risk management classes. After that, they went through 204 hours of EMT, 340 hours of Firefighter 1 and 2, 38 hours of basic hazardous material training, 24 hours of rapid intervention, 168 hours of technical rescue training, 66 hours of wellness, and 112 hours of on-the-job training. We call that OJT. Now, this is well over 1,100 hours. But on top of that, an additional 6 of these young firefighters here went through a 80-hour class of chemistry. So with all that being said, that's well over 1,200 hours. This includes 36 quizzes, 54 tests, and 2 state-certified exams. So don't let anyone tell you that the firefighters in the city of Winston-Salem are not qualified or well-trained. Class 24, you know I'm proud of you. And I'm glad to see you here and be a part of this city. Like I told you, this is our city. We protect this city. And I'm glad to be a part of it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Cruz. We'll now begin with our special awards portion of the program. City Manager Lee Garrity, Assistant Chief of Safety, Training, and Operations Frank Stowe, and Chief W.L. Mayo will present the awards for Class 24. The awards are the Vivian H. Burke Character Award, the Outstanding Teammate Award, and the Fire Chiefs Award. Assistant Chief of Operations Robert Owens will join us for the award presentation. Mr. Garrity.
Thank you. You know, the dictionary defines character as those attributes and ethical traits that distinguish a person. In essence, character is revealed by what a person does, even when, or especially when, no one's looking. The Vivian H. Burke Character Award is named for Councilmember and Mayor Pro Tem Vivian H. Burke. As Mr. McNeal said previously, she served as chairperson of the Public Safety Committee for 36 years. She's also in her 11th term on City Council. I believe she was on City Council before most of you all were probably born. If you know the Mayor Pro Tem, you know how important those characters, those traits of respect, of responsibility, of professionalism, of manners, how those things are so important to everything she does. This award was created because it epitomizes her career and her commitment to this community. I have the distinct pleasure today to award the Vivian H. Burke Character Award for Class 24 to recruit William Rivers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Very joyous occasion. Again, thank you all for being here this morning. I have the honor of presenting the Outstanding Teammate Award. This award is that award that shows how your peers love and respect you. And that is something that we all desire, that our peers respect us and that they love us. When you have 38 individuals that can agree on one person, that must be a truly outstanding person. It is my honor to present this award today to Dalton Boone.
Fire Chiefs Award is essentially the award for the valedictorian of the class, going to the highest, to the recruit with the highest overall combined grade point average for both fire and for the fire and EMT curriculums. Now, this is no small feat. Recruit school is a rigorous academic and physical journey spanning 7 months. There are no nights or weekends off. The recruits get up early, they go hard all day, they go home, they eat, they shower, they study, they go to bed, they get up the next morning and they do it again. With a fire curriculum class average of 87.03, the winner of this award had 3 classmates within 2 points of him. On the EMT side, the class average was 91.59, and he had 8 classmates within 1 point of him. Please join me in congratulating Matthew Hall.
Congratulations to all of you. Now is the time in the ceremony where we hear from the class spokesman about the experience of becoming a Winston-Salem firefighter. Please welcome the spokesman for Class 24, William C. Rivers.
Good morning, everybody. Before I get started, I might just shake things up a little bit. I've got to thank God for allowing us to get through this, so just give me a second to say hallelujah. All right. Also, I'd like to take a moment to thank all the representatives of the city government, all of our guests who traveled from out of state and out of town, all of our chiefs, captains, engineers, and firefighters who took time out of their busy schedule, and to all of our family and friends who wouldn't miss this moment for the world. Over the course of the past 8 months, I've had the distinct pleasure and honor of being the president of the class of 24. I've watched these men and women go from having little or no knowledge, some of you, me included, about anything related to anything related to a fire, to constructing a high line and performing pickoffs on a horizontal system. There were some people in our class who struggled to do 10 push-ups at the beginning, and I watched the same individuals breach double-layer brick walls with just a sledgehammer and the thought of knowing that there may be a victim on the other side. I've also watched people overcome their worst fears: fear of failure, fear of heights, fear of dying a horrible death while being engulfed in flames, and the fear of knowing that making the wrong decision could cost someone their life. But more important than the before and after picture that I'm trying to paint for you is the process. Because throughout all that, a transition had to take place. When challenges arose, each and every one of us had to make a decision in our minds that it was worth it to see it through to the other side. There are many times that we got up in the morning, myself included, and thought, man, as I'm driving towards the Beatty, I could just keep going and won't nobody ask a single question. But we overcame that and came to work anyway. Also, in every training evolution we performed, we were tasked to take the worst possible situation, a scenario that could be somebody's horrific nightmare situation, and we turned it around for the better. We, in essence, have learned that the safety and the well-being of the general public depends on us. We've grown to understand the importance of teamwork and brotherhood, knowing that we are ready and willing at a moment's notice to rush into a blazing inferno to save one of our own. It's funny, somebody early in the process told me that new recruits in the fire service are like a fresh egg out of the chicken coop, hard on the outside and goo in the middle. I laughed, and then I thought to myself, well, you take this egg from this chicken coop, and you take a potato from the same form, because he was shaped like that, and you put them both in a pot of water, and you turn the heat up to it. Now, in the beginning of that, the water starts to get warm and nothing changes, but if you continue to apply that heat and apply that pressure, over time, something changes. As you apply that heat and that pressure, the egg starts hardening. And what happens to that potato, it starts to become soft. To the point where the water boils out at the bottom, and you take a fork, push it onto the egg, and it's solid because it's been through something. You push it onto the potato, and you have mashed potatoes. I said all that to say this. We fellas and lady have been through the trials. We've been tested. They put us in the pot, added water, and turned it on, and watched us for 8 months. We were in there with potatoes, along with other things and other people. And now, 8 months later, this is what you ended up with. I've lost my place. But now here stands 39 of the hardest working, axe swinging, wall breaching, ladder climbing, car cutting, ceiling putting, hard-nosed firefighters I've ever had the pleasure of working with. I'm gonna tell you what, fellas, it's been one heck of a ride. It's been one heck of a show. And I've learned something new about each and every one of you. I'm no longer using this. This is useless. I'm sorry. This is coming from my heart, fellas. I've learned something new from each and every one of you. And I appreciate everything that you've taught me. From Bartash running with me in the beginning of class, this man literally ran me till I peed on myself. To Jackson waking up 4 a.m. in the morning when my vehicle was down because he knew that I work out at 5 and coming to give me a ride, and everybody in between. We've overcome some things. We've overcome a lot, so don't take it lightly. It's been an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to be your president. Thank you for everything, and thank you all, family, for being here. Have good luck in your careers, fellas. Take it home.
Thank you, Rivers. It is customary that we call the name of each graduate and have him or her come forward to be congratulated by the individuals seated here on the stage, and then to join the person who they've chosen to share in the honor of pinning their badge onto their uniform for the first time. If you are selected to do the pinning, please stand and in an orderly fashion prepare to meet your graduate at the photo wall. Jim Wolf on our staff, would you stand, Jim? We'll try to keep some order there so that we don't back things up so much, okay? But that's what we're going to do. I'll ask that you hold your applause until all the graduates have had their badges pinned onto their uniforms. Now, please welcome Chief W.L. Mayo and the Assistant Chief of Operations, Robert Owens, for our badge presentation.
Oh, that's right. I have a lot that needs to be said. The concept of a badge goes back to the Crusades. I'm always hesitant to tell this story when there's preachers in the room because I know they've been educated on this stuff, and I get my information from Wikipedia. But the concept of a badge goes back to the Crusades, which began late in the 11th century. And in order to identify friend or foe, knights who were dressed in full armor affixed a symbol to the front of their shield so they know whether they needed to whack that person or not. So from the coat of arms, the badge was born, and most often knights carry their shield in their left hand, which is why we wear badges on our left chest. Now, a Catholic military order called the Order of the Knights of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem. They need a fire service acronym for that, but they don't have one. The Order of the Knights of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem evolved into what is now known as the Sovereign the Sovereign Military Order of Malta in the early 12th century. And the Sovereign Military Order of Malta still exists today with headquarters in Rome, and it is the oldest chivalric order in the world and the only sovereign state in existence that has no territory. They have relations with 106 countries and permanent observer status on the United Nations, but they have no territory. The Knights of Malta incorporated an 8-pointed cross in their coat of arms. You know, it has become known today as the Maltese cross. That's what we know it is, and it's a widely identifiable symbol of the fire service. And you know, so the Maltese cross that we most often identify with is more appropriately known as St. Florian's cross. It has more rounded edges than the original Maltese cross. But going back to the Maltese, which was the original, it has 8 points. Each of those 8 points represents something, and I want you to think about those 8 things as you receive your badge today. And those 8 things are observance, tact, resourcefulness, dexterity, unequivocalness, judgment, perseverance, and sympathy. Now,
Thank you, sir. Nicholas Bartash. Dalton Boone. Philip Boston. David Brooks. Andrew Bird. Brendan Callahan. Michael Chapman. Cody Clark. Sarah Contos. Joshua Cottle. Jeremy Davis. Bradford Dunn. Timothy Farron. Joshua Griffin. Benjamin Grubb. Matthew Hall. Stephen Halstead. Adam Hare. Ivan Holloway. David Jackson. Christopher Key. Caleb Kiger. Jared Legan. Jordan Luswick. Anthony Marlowe. Mason Marshall. Tyler McLean. Grayson Morton. Joshua Noah. Jacob Pardo. Charles Reynolds. William Rivers. Joshua Shipton. Cameron Shore. Chadwick Southern. Jeffrey Swart. Aaron Wentland. Norris White. Michael Wilkins. Ladies and gentlemen, the 24th class of the Winston-Salem Fire Department. You may be seated. Winston-Salem firefighters, you are held to high standards and given a challenging task of watching over our city around the clock. Congratulations and good luck to you. Please. To our audience, please remain seated until the graduates and our speakers have left the room. Our reception will take place downstairs. If you go to the back of the room when we dismiss and go down the stairs, you'll be inside of the space. You're also welcome to come back into the sanctuary and take photos here if you like. That concludes our program. Thank you for being with us today.